Hey guys, this is William and my partner's Aaron. We are working on Whitman and Democracy. Our page has four sources for each of us. We also have a contemporary piece and a Whitman commentary, and we also have the co-overview paragraph and this video you're watching.
So one thing we noticed a lot in Whitman's pieces on this area is that he was very liberal and he advocated for equality and basically freedom among people and not having divisions based on sexuality or race. So through his poetry he talked a lot about this idea of this perfect and unified America all coming together.
So Whitman also used a different type of syntax and diction and wrote in free verse, which was very different from other writers of the time, which ties into how he believed that America should be free.
So Whitman has always been connected through democracy. So starting at a young age, his brothers were actually named after presidents. So he had a brother named George Washington Whitman and Andrew Jackson Whitman, which is kind of ironic. And then as he got older, presidents always would comment on him or talk about him. And even Bill Clinton actually gave Monica Lewinsky a copy of Leaves of Grass, which ended up giving the book some bad press for a little bit. But in general, he's connected to democracy kind of throughout his whole life. He's always finding his way in these democratic areas, like I said, with his brothers or the presidents, and he's always commenting on these issues.
So Whitman has always been connected to America, and because of that, he's been called America's poet. Some of his most famous poems, including Crossing Brooklyn Ferry and even Leaves of Grass, all tie into how he was considered America's poet. Even after 9/11, lots of his poems out of Leaves of Grass were put up inside the fire stations in New York.
For my Whitman commentary, I read "Oh For You Democracy" by Whitman, like I said, and it talks about his vision of a perfect democracy and kind of a perfect America. And the poem is structured as Whitman is talking directly to democracy, which he gives this feminine persona. And he's talking to democracy, saying if you let these things happen, this is what the world will look like. He talks about the world being unified and lots of love spreading through it and equality. So it's basically a combination of all of his ideals of America, and then he puts it into this poem and structures it in a very interesting way to get his point across.
So the piece that I looked at was called Democratic Vistas, and for Whitman, this was a piece of understanding what democracy was in America. Whitman believed that of a truly free society, that you'd be able to freely express your ideas and your concerns. And Democratic Vistas is sort of his masterpiece in explaining what he believes democracy is, why America is so unique to him, and why he cherishes the idea of democracy.
So for my contemporary piece, I read Ode to Walt Whitman by Paulo Neruda, I think is how you pronounce it. And in this piece, the author talks a lot about similar dreams as Whitman had. So he talks a lot about not America. He's from Chile, but he talks about the American ideals in Chilean society. So talking about how he wants people to be free and equal and not judge each other. And he kind of takes these ideals from Whitman and puts it directly into his piece. And then also he talks a lot about how Whitman's influence on the world, saying that Whitman has caused all these people to follow him and kind of created this movement. So in the piece Ode to Walt Whitman, it demonstrates not only Whitman's influence on specifically American and democratic ideas, but also just his influence in general.
The second commentary was on what's called Whitmanian democracy, and what separates Whitmanian democracy from your general democracy, at least in the eyes of the author, is that it relies more on the body, nature, and the connection between the two. And so it kind of ties into how Whitman has always believed in the freedom of not just the body and the mind, but of also our connection to nature. Whitmanian democracy was seen as a critical turning point for even those who weren't a part of the U.S. Those of the privileged elite of England, for example, saw democracy originally as this sort of driving force behind a greater evil, but now view it in a much better light.